Ashley, Scrapping Nerd, and I'm back today with a layout for Scraplift Crafternoon. It's where a bunch of my crafty peeps and I get together. We scraplift an amazing layout from an amazing creator. And today we are lifting Melissa, and you saw her beautiful layout at the top of the video. It's amazing. And my layout, this one was difficult for me. Mine is nowhere near hers. Hers is beautiful. Mine gave me some trouble. But I started out with a bunch of my stash, and I think those were Joann's brand like stickers. I'm not really sure, but I've had them forever, and they're kind of travel themed. So I pulled a bunch of those in, and then I have this Die Cuts with a View Adventurer paper pad, and so I pulled that in to get all of my papers from, which you can see here. And I did pull in some Dilutions shimmer spray in Pure Sunshine, and then I did pull in some brads, and I planned to use some brads, but by the end of this layout I was frustrated and I couldn't remember that I was going to use the brads. And then I also pulled in from my stash some thickers, gold letter, or like gold titles and things, and it was from the Second Avenue and the Lovely collection, and I don't know which is which. I think I get them all mixed up, so I don't know which of them I used, because again, it's just from my stash, and so I usually, if I'm going to use them, I look through both at the same time, and so I think I've mixed up putting them back in the bags. But the first thing I did was choose my background paper, which I went with this green dot paper. I thought that would be the best to kind of mix all these patterns. And then in Melissa's layout, she had some mixed media, and it looked like it was only on one side of her layout. So I took the Dilution spray and I just did some splatters in the background on the right side. And then I used my paper towel roll just to roll over it. I really like when I do that because it like smeeshes the little splatters, and it makes them a little bigger but then kind of irregular, and I just like how that looks. And this shimmer spray is really pretty. So far I like my layout. And so then I decided to go through the papers that I had pulled and pick a paper to mat my photo in. And in Melissa's layout, she had 3 photos, and so I decided to do this photo of the Grand Canyon that I took using the panoramic feature on my phone. And so I thought I would use that, and so I only have one photo, but it's kind of long and skinny like hers was. And so I trying to find which pattern didn't take away from the photo took me a minute, and then I settled on this plaid. I thought that looked really good, but then it's still, my photo kind of blended in, I thought, or didn't stand out enough, and so I decided to just grab a scrap of white paper and mat my photo in white first, and then I'll go back and mat it with that green plaid. And so far I like this. And it's funny because I fiddled with this layout a lot, and I almost wasn't going to post my video because I was so frustrated with this layout. You know, I love scrapbooking, but every layout is not a masterpiece, and this one is definitely not a masterpiece for me. And this has nothing to do with Melissa's layout. Hers is amazing, and I could have went a different way with the inspiration from that. And I don't know what it is about this one this time, but I don't hate it, so I'm not taking it apart or anything, but I could definitely say, like I said, not every layout is a masterpiece. And so in her layout, though, she had a bunch of layers behind her photos, and her layers came out amazing. And so I was like, okay, I'll take some different of these pattern papers. I had pulled in a couple scraps that I had from the collection, and I will do the layers. And this is where things start to go off the rails. I don't know. I did distress all my layers, and I don't think that I show that because this video will be choppy because you don't want to see me messing with these layers and moving them all around, because I certainly did. And so I pulled in the white paper that has like these arrows and an X that are gold, and that's kind of where my gold comes from. The whole collection, some of the papers have this gold foil on them, and so that's why like I had pulled in those brads intending to use some gold brads up, and I pull in some those thickers that had some gold, but that's why, because this paper has these gold foil within it. And then I decided that the yellow arrows would look good with the paper, with the different ones I had. And so I pulled that one in, and I'm okay so far. And then I thought, why not pull in this red plaid? And I do, and I cut it apart and I put it on the layout, and I don't like the layout, and I don't know why. And looking at this immediately, watching this video, I can see that it's this red paper. It just stands out and it doesn't go. Like without it, everything kind of stays in the same color story. And then I put this red plaid on here and it totally doesn't go. But in the moment, I was like, what's wrong? Something's wrong. And I do eventually take the red plaid off, but it takes me longer than it should. And but you can see just looking at the video, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's not right. That doesn't look good. And then I pulled in this that had paper that has a bunch of foil circles that have different icons in them. And I cut a strip for this, and I'm gonna fishtail the ends, because in her layout she did have like fishtails ends behind all of her layers, and so I am getting inspiration for that. And so I cut it, and then I can't figure out where I want to put it, but I just kind of keep pushing through, and I don't know where to put it because that red plaid is just there. And so I did the fishtail, and I'll move it around, but eventually it'll go behind the layers at the top when I figure it out. And then I'm like, okay, I took the red plaid off, and you would think, oh, okay, she finally got it. She got rid of the plaid. Nope. I try to bring it in. I flip it over, and it has these purple tents on the back, and I'm like, no, which is better than this red plaid, but for some reason I'm just like strong-willed and want this red plaid on here, and I still don't understand that that's the problem. Well, that's one of the problems with this layout. But then I decide, okay, let's make a half circle of the red plaid, and I just use my tape roll to trace a circle, and I will cut it out, and with the intent that it's going to hang off the edge of the paper at the bottom, because she had like a circle element in the bottom left of hers, and I don't do that. I put it up under the photo here, still on the red plaid side. Then I finally am like, oh, it's the red plaid. And so I take the red plaid out, and then I turn my circle over, and I like the purple better. But again, I don't realize till the end of this layout that after I've glued everything down, that purple, the circle, has tents on it. And I flipped it over, and I do all this stuff, put my lettering on it and everything, and my tents are upside down. So yeah, there's that. But we're rolling with it. Well, I don't notice it here, so it doesn't matter. I'm rolling because I think that everything is just fine and dandy. And I'm gonna put Love Every Moment as my title, and I'm putting it down in the right side of the layout where she had her title. And I like how that turned out, aside from the upside down tents. And they're not very bold. They kind of blend into the background. So I'm like, well, it's not as noticeable that they're upside down. Just don't stare at it too long, and then you won't even know. But I then took this cut apart, and I cut apart the little sign that says like hiking trail, nature trail, camping, lakeside parking lot, that kind of thing. And glued it over the top corner of the photo. That part of the panorama showed the chain link from where I was standing to take the panoramic photo. It got in the corner, and so I figured I'll just cover that up, and you still can see the Grand Canyon. We went to the Grand Canyon for our anniversary this year, and so I'm finally getting those photos scrapped. And like I said, this is just a panoramic, and it's so crazy. The Grand Canyon just looks like a postcard. It doesn't look real. I always thought about like the Truman Show with Jim Carrey, that movie, and it like he lived in the made up world, and then he got to the end and ran into it, and the door opened. I'm like, is there a door out there? Because it looks so fake, like it's painted. But anyways, so yeah, I glued that over the top. But that's the layout, guys. I pulled in a bunch of those stickers, says Wanderer, the Great Outdoors, and then I just was like, okay, I'm done with this layout. Make sure you check out everyone who has linked below. They are Scraplifting Melissa for her layout today, and theirs will be much better, much more grand. Make sure you give Melissa some love, and she does amazing things over on her social media. All of her links are below. Thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, I'd love to have you hit those buttons below, and don't base me on this layout. Subscribe to me based on my other layouts. All right, guys, you have a great day. Bye.